Hey guys, Enduro Bandit here. I just want to show you guys how to do a key ignition on the KLX300R. I removed my button ignition because I'd rather have a key so that people can't just push the button and start the bike. If I leave it in the bush or whatever. It's one more deterrent for them to not want to steal the bike, I would also recommend the alarm disc brake lock, which I have another video on that, but I'm going to show you guys how to do this. And the original ignition button is located right here after you remove the number plate, which is very easy. And you can get those two Allen key bolts out, but first you got to remove this little 8mm and this little 8mm. And then this whole unit becomes loose and you can get in there with an Allen key. You don't need to even unplug any other wires for that. So this is the plug right here. I have it labeled positive, negative. Those two wires on this side, these aren't the original wires, by the way, but the positive will be facing out, negative facing in, and they're on the right side if you're looking from the front of the bike. So that'll be plugged in there, going to the ignition. You can remove the other two wires from it because you don't need them. They go to the little light. This is the original ignition with the plate that I removed. See these little connectors? You want to snip them, pull them out, put a little pin in there or some little metal tiny screwdriver or metal pick in there. Press on the plastic thing, like between the metal and the plastic, while pulling on the wire gently, and it will come out easily. What I did, but you can buy brackets, but what I did was, make my own bracket out of aluminum, which did take quite a while to make, just the perfect one. And I was originally going to do one here, but then I realized, because I wasn't looking at the bike when I was making it, I forgot about this little bar here. So that's unfortunate, but you could also rig it up to one of these bolts. But I decided to rig it up to the one that holds the number plate on. I'm not sure how that's going to work when I have my headlight on. I'm gonna have to rearrange a couple things, but it looks really good, really factory right now. It fits in there. I already test fitted it, and this is gonna clip right in there. And obviously before you do any of this, just take this number plate off and remove your battery connectors to be safe, and wire it up, and you can have this little bolt go in there. This is just a cheap little ignition that I bought off of eBay. You can also get these off Amazon, but it was only about $7 Canadian. And yeah, I'll show a little video of it starting later. Okay, moment of truth. That's good. The orange light means that it is working. Oh yeah, baby. We are good to go. Look how clean that is. Takes up no space. It actually freed up more space now that I got rid of that other hunk. This is just tightly packed in there. I'm going to quickly show you guys how to do the pair valve delete on the KLX300R. Right in here, that little plate there, gonna have to remove that. You don't actually really need to remove that hose from it because that'll come off with the plate. This piece up here has a connector on it. Right now I've already removed it, as you see. You just press down on the clip on top, pulls right out, and that whole little mini assembly there that controls the air going through. There's like a rubber attachment thing. You can see it. I've already pulled it off, but yeah, you can pull that off right away. And we're gonna remove this whole unit. I'm already halfway through removing everything. I just want to do a video quick so you guys can see. Here's what it looks like from this side. This hose is running all the way down here to the air box where it pulls air to inject it into the exhaust to help with emissions. You can thank California for that. Now this exhaust runs really hot from factory. It burned through my dirt bike pants in like 2 seconds while I was pushing the bike. And a lot of people have had issues with this hot header. If this bike were to lay on your leg, you would be in serious trouble, 3rd degree burns. So thankfully that hasn't happened to me. I only went without the pair valve delete for 1 season, but it's supposed to help, you know, cool off your exhaust because not so much air being forced through there. It's also supposed to help with your throttle response, especially if you have an upgraded muffler, which I don't yet. So yeah, you're gonna want to take this off the airbox, as I already said. And yeah, you just put on, I bought a kit from SmartMoto because it's a really clean way to do this mod. You can do it the redneck way too, same results, but just won't be quite as clean looking. They give you a little plate and 2 block off plastic pieces so that, you know, there's nothing that could get dirt and water in it and stuff. So yeah, 8mm bolts on there. You just take that off. Make sure to use Loctite when you put them back on. And here's what the pair valve delete looks like installed. You can see it barely in there. And we have that zip tied to the hook over here. I just zip tied that little port, and I have to snip the zip tie still, but looks pretty good. Alright, I'm going to walk you guys through how to install a headlight on the KLX300R. I ended up buying a UFO Ghibli headlight. I put one of these on my KLX300 when I had that bike, and I really liked it. Like, the green matches really nice, and it's just a really good looking headlight. Something that I should show you to remember for later, the black wire is the negative obviously, and these two, you can just choose which one you want to use, you know, test it out. I think I'm gonna go with the gray, but there isn't really much of a difference. One is high beam, one is low beam, but I just seem to like the gray one more, even though, you know, I haven't ridden with it. But when one burns out, you know, you can switch to the other one, so that's why I put plugs on all of them. Anyway, let's start at the battery. You want to disconnect the negative from the beginning because you're doing electrical. You always want to do that. And for these, you want to buy the pronged connectors. So don't buy the ones that are a full loop, because then you're going to have to take the bolt out all the way. And when you do that, then you slip this under the bolt, you know, if you don't have the prong one, but then the bolt isn't long enough to go into that little metal piece that it screws into because of the, you know, the difference in spacing is too much. So you need the prong one so that you only have to unscrew it a bit and then slide it under while this is on there. So I'm wiring it direct to battery, which is what everyone seems to be doing, even though there is apparently a 12 volt that you can tap into up there, but you know, that's kind of messy. And I added a fuse here. I'm going with the 10 amp, and I watched a tutorial on YouTube where the guy used a 10 amp fuse, and I asked him, hey, have you had any issues, you know, with that over the past season? And he said he hasn't had any issues at all with it. You know, hasn't blown any fuses or anything. Some people like to use a relay, but you know, if this works, I don't see a point in buying a relay too. Anyway, I zip tied this thing here. You don't really need to zip tie it, but I just don't want it to get too loose. So I've got the wires running in behind here. I bought a spool of this red and black wire that is like attached, and you can kind of peel it apart like licorice. And then I have shrimp wrap that I put at the end, you know, so that it doesn't start peeling on its own. So yeah, I put the fuse at the one end, you know, cut some of the positive wire off so that you know, it's kind of like the same length except with a fuse. So ran it through here, a couple zip ties, ran it through that loop. There's some loops you'll find along the way. Run it up through here. It's very nice. You don't even need to have any zip ties along this whole section, because you can just loop it through where the rest of the wiring's going. And up here is where there's a lot of changes that I've done. I removed the push button start and I put in a key instead. So if you guys didn't watch that part of the video, but it did free up some space for me to put this plug here. I zip tied it in. you see how I did that through the 2 bolt holes. So this plug was the one in the middle, and I took the clip out that was in the middle. I dremeled it flush because you need to do that to fit this headlight. I think this headlight's probably more cramped than most, but I also dremeled a bit off this side. And so yeah, I pulled it up here, zip tied that here. This one used to be here. It also wouldn't fit, like it almost did, but I had to move it up because of this black part was pushing up against it, and I wasn't allowing the headlight to push back enough. This part is the one that was in the way that I had to get rid of the middle plug. But anyway, so the wiring for this one, I zip tied up here. So this one it's in a good spot here. This one used to be here. I zip tied it right here. So obviously you're going to be using a lot of zip ties, so you're going to want to pick up a bag of those. I just zip tied some of these wires together here to make it more neat, but you could probably get away without doing that. So anyway, the positive wire, you've got a fuse on it, then you've got it connected via this wire that leads to the light switch, which is basically just, if you have that off, you're not going to get any power to the light. So if you turn it on, the headlight's gonna turn on whether you have the bike running or not, which I like that. Because what if you need to get off the bike, cut a branch down at night? You can just, turn the bike off and have the headlight running, which is really nice. So this green wire is coming from the switch, and the red and black one is the negative that runs straight from the battery to the headlight. And so it's fairly simple if you think about it. You want to do lots of test fitting before you even do the wiring. Make sure your headlight can fit in here. So I did have to drill holes in the bottom of the headlight so it can slide into these prong things. Here's the holes. The bit size I used, which I think it's still in the drill, it's a 21/64. That was the final one that I used for drilling. That'll get you all the way down the shaft on these things. It'll get you right down to the bottom, but you could probably get away with one size smaller. Would have been nice if it came with one right from the dealer, but can't complain really for the price. So yeah, you're probably gonna want to do, if you're gonna do switch over from the push button start to key ignition, then probably do that before you do this mod. But I mean, if you have the push button start here, you're not going to be able to put this plug here, but I'm sure you'll find another place for it. But yeah, this spot that I made a little bracket here, and it fits in behind like really nice. Like, it's not in the way of anything, so I'm really happy about that. Alright guys, here's what the KLX300R looks like with the UFO Ghibli headlight. Very nice. It's a perfect match. Works nice. Alright, I just wanted to show you guys the difference between the bike not running with the headlight on and running with the headlight on. Because it is a little brighter when it's running. There we go. Yeah, I think I did choose the high beam. I mean, it's hard to say. It was the gray wire, just so you know. It seemed a little brighter to me, so I went with it, and you can go with whatever wire you want. I don't think it's too big of a difference, but I'm happy. If you're not gonna get this headlight, I recommend the Poly Sport one. They make a few of them, and I've heard lots of good things about them. I think they're even easier to install, but I just like the look of this one. Like, it looks like factory. Anyway, I've got all the wiring for it on the side here, so if it does happen to burn out, I can just unplug the beam that it's on and plug it into the other beam. And the ignition switch is not getting in the way. In fact, if it had been in the position where the push button start was, it would be more hard to access. So me moving it here actually is easier to access, and it, you know, it's not rubbing on any wires, and everything worked out great. Bike looks good. I'm happy.